In 2021, the Rockets drafted shooting guard Jalen Green, who showed flashes of otherworldly scoring abilities as a rookie and is poised to be the centerpiece for the franchise for the foreseeable future. The Rockets also drafted center Alperen Sengun, a Turkish MVP with dizzying post moves and next-level passing abilities. Seeing how Sengun plays, it was easy to draw parallels to players who fit his description. You know, the European big man, who is a skilled post player and a great passer. These often led to comparisons of current ball-dominant players who possess similar skills, but operate in roles that made a fit for Sengun on a team with another ball-dominant player like Jalen hard to envision. I have to admit, I was guilty of this. I found it hard to see a team where a game like Sengun's could coexist with what I thought Jalen would become, a great scorer whose game demands the ball. And then I had an epiphany. What if? What if the comparisons for Sengun to players like Jokic and Sabonis have been off target? What if he is actually closer to Pau Gasol than any other player? Gasol was able to fit seamlessly on a team with one of the highest usage players in NBA history. As stated earlier, they were able to win 2 NBA championships in the process. This was made possibly by 3 things: great passing, great chemistry, and great IQ. Gasol was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks in the 2001 NBA draft and traded to what would become the Memphis Grizzlies after the franchise relocated from Vancouver. He won Rookie of the Year, putting up 17 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 2.4 assists, averaging 36 minutes per game that season. He played 7 years on the Grizzlies, having multiple All-Star Game appearances and leading the franchise to their first ever playoff appearance. Today's NBA fans are quick to diminish the impact of a strong post presence. It's easy to see why. The most dominant post players in the league right now are high-usage MVP-level centerpieces with teams built solely around their talents. This leads to the line of thought that if Alperen is to be great, it is going to be at the expense of a fit with Jalen Green. An underrated part of Pau's game was his passing ability. Like a lot of European bigs that have come into the NBA, he was naturally a great passer. But this part of his game was the key to how he could fit on a team with Kobe Bryant and dominate. Pau averaged 3.2 assists per game for his career. This may seem inconsequential, but in context of his position as a center/forward, according to Basketball Reference, he ranked 16th all-time in NBA history for career assists. 7 of the top 10 assist seasons of his 20-year career were had playing alongside Kobe Bryant. The triangle offense run by Coach Phil Jackson in his tenure on the Bulls and the Lakers is one of the most successful offenses in NBA history. It has been adopted and adapted to by teams including the Spurs and the Warriors. An offense based on constant movement and constant cutting is unlocked when the player in the post is an elite passer. The Rockets do not run the triangle offense, but it is plain to see that Alperen fared better in lineups with players who were able to capitalize on his passing abilities by cutting and moving. The most frequent cutter on the Rockets was Kenyon Martin Jr., who, according to Synergy, has the Rockets' leading 16.3% cutting frequency. It is no coincidence Sengun assisted to KJ more than any other player on the team. Also, the starting lineup that featured Kenyon Martin Jr., Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Eric Gordon, and Alperen Sengun in 95 possessions was a plus 9.3 net rating. This season, Sengun passed the ball to Jalen Green 184 times. On those passes, Jalen took 65 field goal attempts. In those attempts set up by Sengun, Jalen shot 48% from the field and 50% from 3. This was done in limited minutes of Jalen and Alperen playing together. One of the things I would love to see next season is the development of a 2-man game with these 2 young prospects that could mirror what Kobe and Pau did while he played in LA. Chemistry is an undervalued aspect of team sports. This was an area where Pau and Kobe hit it off instantly as teammates and eventually grew to be brothers off the court. Here is Pau on the first time he and Kobe met as teammates after he was traded to the Lakers from JJ Redick's Old Man and the Three podcast.
joined the team in Washington, where I got to the hotel around 1 a.m. and the team was playing at noon the next day. He texted me, said, "Hey, whenever you get to the hotel, whenever you're done with your interviews, whatever you need, whatever they have you doing, call me. I'm coming up to your room." I was like, "Well, it's going to be really late. You sure you don't want to wait until the next morning?" I was like, No, I'm coming." He said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll text you." So I got to the hotel. I went through the interviews that the media were hoping to do, and then once I got to the room, I texted him and said, "Hey, I'm here." He came up, and from the very beginning, he's like, "Look, I'm very happy that you're here." He wanted, let's acknowledge that. I'm very happy, I'm very excited that you're here, but now let's go win a title. Let's go win this thing. Okay, I know you're ready. You've gone through your struggles in Memphis. Now this is it. This is our opportunity. We got to go seize it. We got to go after it. So he hooked me from the very first moment that I landed, and we were in the same place with the team. And he didn't wait until the next day to tell me. So I was like, okay, so this is how it's done. I gotta follow him. I gotta do whatever it takes, to help this team get to that level. And the impact was pretty immediate. And everything kind of clicked from there. I never played the triangle. I played against it, but he put me in positions where I was already dominant and skilled enough to make a big difference and be successful.
The on-court play between Kobe and Pau was beautiful to watch. The old saying that great players figure it out was true as it relates to these two. In the 2009 season, where the Lakers won the first of their back-to-back championships, the two-man lineup of Pau and Kobe was a team's second best, plus 8.3 net differential per 100 possessions. Sengun and Jalen have a lot of work to do to develop this chemistry as teammates. This past season, they weren't given a lot of opportunities to show what they could become, but in the limited time they did play together, you could see flashes of what could be. In the 13 games that Alperen and Jalen started together, Jalen averaged 22 points per game on 59% true shooting, while Alperen averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds. The goal going forward for Alperen and Jalen is developing that bond that maximizes each of their games and strikes fear in the heart of defenses like Kobe and Pau did. Basketball IQ, in my opinion, is one of the greatest determinants of success for an NBA player. Simply put, a high IQ player will always have a place in the NBA, and when you add natural God-given abilities, you have the making of a great player. It was this IQ that allowed Pau to share the court with Andrew Bynum, a non-floor spacing rim protector. Understanding where to be on the court relative to the players around you requires high IQ, and being an elite passing big mitigates some of the spacing issues that may arise. And Pau and Bynum were a menace in the paint. Sengun, with his special passing, can play with a traditional big. In the limited time he shared the court with Christian Wood, you could see flashes of Alperen creating easy shots for his front court mate. This was especially apparent when Wood wasn't stagnant but cut to the basket. Bynum and Pau were positives on both ends of the court. When they shared the court, they were a plus 9 point differential per 100 possessions, having one of the best offenses in the league and a top 5 defense. Now, this is in context of other plus defenders, including Kobe, Metta World Peace, formerly known as Ron Artest, and Derek Fisher. For this to be a reality for the Rockets, the team and the individual players would have to make immense improvements on that end of the ball. We get glimpses of certain lineups that may have this potential. For example, the lineup of Sengun, Kenyon Martin Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, and Eric Gordon in 95 possessions is a plus 9.5 net differential, having a defensive rating of 106.5, which would make them the number one defense in the league for the 2022 NBA season, if it wasn't such limited possessions. Obviously, this isn't the greatest sample size, but the idea that Sengun could not be part of an elite defense undersells the importance of team construction and collective IQ. The aforementioned Lakers featured smart defenders at every position on the court. The challenge for the Rockets will be to construct a team that accentuates the strengths of both Jalen and Sengun. If your vision of Alperen Sengun's game is a Jokic-type center who demands the ball at the top of the key to initiate an offense built solely for him, then I can understand why you may question his fit on offense and defense. But when you get those thoughts, go to your computer, log on to YouTube and search Pau Gasol highlights, and see how this European big man flourished alongside a non-shooting big and one of the highest usage two guards in NBA history. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the Chop Shop channel for more great hoop content.